Hello, my name is Lindsay Holst. I am the District 11-12 GM and also assistant coach for the Tier 1 14U girls program. Today we're going to be walking through how to do the quick check-in process for COVID-19 protocols as part of return to play for Minnesota hockey. This is something that kind of developed over the summer to get us back at the rinks and playing, but also following the guidelines set forward by the Minnesota Department of Health for contact tracing and symptom tracking for players at hockey arenas. So we're going to jump right into it. Following along, the biggest thing to start with is having a Google account. All of this is built through Google, and they're free platforms that you can use. There's no cost involved in setting this up. So to get started, you're gonna go to google.com, and what I do is you type Google Forms. We're gonna be using that. Again, these are all free. You're going to want to create a blank form. Okay, it's going to take you to another screen. It's where you can start adding in your questions. You can create the title, how you want it to be named. So for Tier 1, we did Tier 1. In this section, you can put what your form is for. It's just so people know that they have the right team, things like that. As you go forward, this is where you start to enter in your questions, things you need to gather from people. So following MDH contact tracing, they want to know name. We'll do first name. And then you click the plus sign on the side here. That's where it populates another question. Then we'll do last name. So in order, I just clicked back up. One of the things I want to show is it gives you the option to change the amount of information you're going to gather. A short answer gives people enough space on the form to type in their name. And you also want to make sure that you hit the required button. That makes it so the forms cannot be submitted without gathering data or information in that box. So I like to do that on all the questions because then you know you're getting all the information. Forms aren't being submitted with anything missing. Again, first name, last name, address. Can make that whatever you want, make it required. And then you keep going down the line. I always like to do address, city, and state. We do have, North Dakota and Wisconsin teams coming in to play in Minnesota tournaments or games. So it's always important that if they're in Minnesota, they're doing this as well. So having the city and state is important. And then phone number. Minnesota Department of Health contact tracing follows protocols of notifying people with potential exposure. So having the phone number is really important. The next section is going to be about symptom tracking. That's where you're going to want to ask about fevers, chills, any of the symptoms. So what I like to do, because they're kind of two different sections, we like to add a section which gives them, they have to fully tab over to a second page. It makes it a little more organized. So this is a symptom checklist. Again, we follow the same process. You hit the plus symbol, and this is where you can add in fever. Minnesota Department of Health says 104 or higher for COVID protocols. Again, we want to make sure that we make these required, and this is where we want to add in that it's multiple choice or a checkbox. There's no difference. It's basically just your preference. I like to use checkboxes, so we want to just put yes, and then no, and then that gives them those are their only two options. I'm not going to go through all the symptoms in this, but I will show you a completed form over here. So this is a completed form that I created for our Voyageurs team on the girls' side. As you can see on the top, it listed what we're doing it for, MDH and COVID-19 contact tracing. And then you'll see where I entered all of the things we just talked about, and then we broke into the health screening checklist, and that gathers all the information, and then following up with temperature tracking for each individual entering an arena or playing a game. So as you're gathering and putting these in place, this is where you would be able to then send this out to players. I can show you what players will see, or spectators. They would see a form that looks like this. Just very similar, they just have no option to edit. So we'll do a test one really quick using my information. So once a form's completed, you hit submit, and they will see a screen that looks like this. This is showing that the form has been completed, and they could submit another response if they needed to, but one of the important things is that they need to close their browser. Closing their browser eliminates any duplication of their form for some reason being submitted. On your screen, jumping back to the screen that you created, you will see now that there's one response. So if you click on this, it's going to generate a screen that shows a summary of the information. You could break it down by individual question or individual person. Another way to track this is by clicking this. This creates a spreadsheet where all of the data gathered enters. So this is a running document, so whether it's today, tomorrow, 3 weeks from now, all of the answers from that one form get saved onto this document. It's a good way to keep track. You can go back and isolate certain days so you know exactly who was there on certain days. All of Google Forms, the spreadsheet I just created, are all saved in your Google Drive. Google Drive, they auto-save, so nothing will ever be missed because you didn't hit save. And it will also be accessible on a phone or a computer. So if you needed it while you're at the rink but you don't have a laptop, this is a great way to utilize it on your phone as well. It does work on Android and iPhone. So now into the next piece about this quick check-in process is creating the QR code. The QR code is designed for people to individually access the form without having to be emailed a link or it only going to certain people and you running into those issues. So the QR link creates anybody with an iPhone or an Android to access the form to enter in the information. So what you want to do when you create a QR code is you want to hit on the form that you created, you hit send, and a QR code is connected to the URL or the link of the form. So you highlight the form, copy, and then you're going to want to bring it over to a QR code website creator. The nice thing is again, these are free, just like the Google platform. So these are, there's multiple out there, there's lots of them. This is the one that I've utilized the most. There's no limit, there's no count. It's really very nice. So what you do with that link we just copied, you're going to want to enter it into this section. So you'll see that the form is there, and then you go to this button to create your QR code. So now that's generated a specific code to the form that we just had created. And so then you're going to want to download the code. And it will pop up a specific code. So what I do from here is I like to simplify it. I like to make sure that people and teams are understanding of what this is for. So what I utilize is another version of a form, another Google Doc. So what I created is just a one-page that can be printed out, given to coaches, team managers, captains, however it works for your association or organization. So again, this is what I built for the 14U girls team, the Voyageurs in Duluth. We always have this at practice. It gives a brief description of what the steps are, and they utilize their phone, scan the code, enter in the information, and then we can double check too as they're entering the form that they're showing up on the spreadsheet if you needed to be watching those submissions be submitted. That's a quick overview of it. Again, the codes work on iPhones or Androids phones. It's done simply through the camera app. There's no special application that needs to be downloaded to the phone. It can simply be done through the camera. And it's a quick and easy way to make sure that you have all the information and the data gathered as you enter the arena, and then you can get on the ice and play hockey.